because the same as you're like have your own kids, have your own family, but still you can enroll yourself in a class if you desire or if you want to. So I guess that's also what we call the generation gap. And our topic for today is all about generation gap. So Anna, when was the first time you heard about this term, generation gap?
I can't remember the first time I heard about it.
Mm. But what's your reaction when you heard it for the first time? In my case, I heard this one maybe when I was in high school.
In high school,
Yes, I remember this term during my high school days when our teacher tells us about generation gap because the teachers before in high school always say, your generation today is so different from our generation before. Even
mm,
our mother always said, we before we don't do this. Before we're not hard-headed, but you children of today or kids of today are very hard-headed. They don't follow their mothers. They don't follow their fathers. Yeah, that's why I always hear the word or the term generation gap when I was in high school, especially if my mother is very angry. Always give me a lecture or a lesson about generation gap. So, how about you in your case, Anna? What's the first time or when did you first encounter this term generation gap? Did your parents told you something about it that your generation is different from their generation?
mm. Actually, I can't remember exactly the time, but when I use uh, the handphone and computer, my parents uh, remind me that um, they and them and me are different because in the past they don't have any technology equipment like handphone or computer to use.
Okay, so it's all about technology, right? So that's the generation gap that you have encountered. How about you, Cam? What's the generation gap that you have heard or encountered?
Actually, I don't have time for prepare this lesson, so uh, I'm still trying to understand the meaning of generation gap.
Oh my God, generation gap is really, there's really a lot of generation gap. Even before when technology is not yet here, Anna, like even when we don't have smartphones before, when I was young, my grandparents always tell me about this generation gap. Like, for example, um, before they don't study because they don't believe that education is important. But nowadays, people believe that it's only education that can save us from poverty or from our problems in the society. So they always say we need to go to school, but they were not able. It's the difference between the ne- the last generation to the next generation. That's generation gap.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. The light at your back cam is so scary.
Okay, let me. I will turn off.
It's like the light that is used in the death in the Philippines, Anna. That's the kind of light that is used if there's a dead person.
What?
Yeah, at the back of cam. Okay, Cam. Can you remember if your parents have told you something about generation gap?
Um, in my case, I think the generation gap. Um, I can see I can saw many difference between me and my parents. Uh, for example, the I think the first is my parent was born in the difficulty times when
Mm,
they don't have many things for they can choose.
mm.
But in my generation, I think when the economic develop, so we can approach with many opportunity, and that is the most difference between me and my parents. I think so. We have more
Yes.
opportunity, and we have more occasion for learn many other things.
Mm. I really believe in that because I have a friend and she's already 65 years
That's
old.
it.
Yes, we're friends, but she told me that the generation of today is very lucky because we can choose a lot of things. Example for the job, we can choose a lot of jobs, but with their generation, they have limited opportunity, very few jobs. Yes, I believe it's true. Okay, so let's go to the essay. So before the essay, guys, it has a little bit of a story. Have you read this, Anna?
Yes, Bina.
How about you, Cam?
Uh, Actually, I do not see anymore.
Yeah, you can read first, Cam. You can read first. So, Anna, can you please summarize the essay according to what you understand?
uh, talk about Michelle, right?
What is it, Anna?
Talk about Michelle story.
Story?
I
Michael?
Michael. Yeah,
Mm,
I don't know how to call his name. Michael.
yeah, Mike.
Michael want to go out of his house because he think that in his house he doesn't have the chance to to go adventure to uh, enjoy excitement. I don't have more money and don't have a beautiful woman, so they want to leave his house to go out to enjoy this thing. Uh, but father, um, his father talked to him. Uh, Wait a minute, and he will go out with him.
Mm. I guess I guess the way his father disciplined his child is different, right? So there is this saying, if you cannot if you cannot beat them, join them. So it says that, for example, if you cannot stop someone from drinking alcoholic drinks, especially the youth of today, join them and don't just tell them to quit. or stop drinking alcohol, but join them at first and then talk to them while drinking. Do you think, Anna, this is a good idea of disciplining kids, especially the kids of today?
Mm, I think the kids only want their parents do do with them.
Do things together?
Yeah, do things together.
Do you agree with that kind of discipline to do things together with your kids?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So when your son later on wants to drink alcohol, you will also go with him.
I just talk about the way
Mm.
to get closely with him first.
Get closer. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think that's also the problem of today's generation, Anna. Like parents are working, especially if both parents are working, they usually lack, maybe they have time, but the time is so little and they lack time to be with their kids. And it became a problem, maybe, um, to the generation of today. Like they don't know what their kids are doing. It's like I remember the story of Kam on his homework about the about the girl at school who poisoned herself, Kam, because her parents doesn't know she's doing at school, and then her teacher just notified her parents about her activities. So how do you monitor your son, Anna?
I think with a kid, if we
Mm,
use uh, strict, uh, a strict way to teach the kid, it's not good. And
mm,
I think he just want me to join with him in
mm,
every activity.
mm. I think that's a good thing. Like, if you're very strict, the more that your kids will want to rebel against you. Rebel is to do the things that you don't want them. Like if you tell them to stay at home and don't go out at 10 p.m., they will go out.
Yeah.
Or if you tell them not to go to clubs or bars, they will go. The more the more that you will not allow them to do something, the more that they are going to do it. That's rebel or rebellion in being a child, especially teenagers. So I hope that we can really do things together, Anna, with your son. Okay, even though you're so busy. How about you, Cam? What's your
Mm,
understanding? Cam, are you tired? It's a very deep sigh.
okay, I think I understand about this topic. Um, I think the most different between each generation is the genomics they they trained. For example, the younger people. I think they always have many knowledge because they have many opportunity to approach with the finance with many other knowledge. But the my parents they don't have an opportunity, and every knowledge they have thus away from their experience in their past. So that is a bit different between me and my parent. But in our society, for I can success in the future, I think I have to learn many other knowledge. But other side, I also to hearing about my parent experience, because sometimes uh, many experience also useful for I can overcome my problem. And I believe that every problem does become the difference, the knowledge about me and my parent, when I can to balance and I can to keep uh, all of both for try to do something. So um, I think that is the most conflict between me and my parent.
It's all about information. And yes, you are right about that. That today, in this generation, we have a lot of opportunities and we have a lot of information. But the problem is that we have too much information. We have too much information, too much things that we can see, and that's why many people nowadays are stressed and depressed because of that. So imagine, maybe we talked about this a long time ago, that when we live a simple life, we don't know much about modernity and the technology and gadgets. Our life is less stressful. And right now, maybe one of the problems is we don't know where are we going to put all the information that we have in our mind, because we have a lot of information. So especially that we can get a lot of information everywhere, especially on social media or Facebook. It's good, but it's also becoming a problem. So in the example here, come, there is a quarrel, or maybe let's just say a fight or an argument between a kid, a child, and his father. So, how do you view, or how do you see the father's way of disciplining his child in this example?
I think in my case, sometimes I want to use my experience when I want to advise my kids, but they don't think my experience is right and suitable for them, and that is a problem between me and my kids or me and my parents. And I think uh, we have to find the point for we can use all of that, and the best way is try to find the best way for to keep balance between their experience with my knowledge, for we
Mm,
can find out the best solution for one problem. I think so.
mm. What you said is exactly what we call generation gap. When your kids believe that your experience is not suitable for them, because maybe they will say that your generation is different from my generation. These things are actually funny, guys. When I was young, our parents, of course, they give us money, right, to go to school. And then when you ask a lot of money, your parents will always say, or say to you, oh my God, when I was young, when I was your age, I only have this money, but your your budget is so big. It's like that. It's also one of the generation gap. Like your parents always tell you, in my generation, in my time, blah blah blah. But in your time right now, it's because the times of today are so different with the times of before. So before, they said that all the products are very cheap, whereas today products are expensive. So that's also one of the generation gap. But do you believe, Tom, that your experiences are not suitable for your kids, or it doesn't fit? with their generation?
Mm, in my case, sometimes I think I can't to forgot their experience, and I just believe um, my experience or my knowledge is better. But either way, I think I have to uh, hearing about their experience because they have many time for overcome the same with my situation. So at that time, I believe their experience is pretty good for me. Depend each situation.
Mm. You can also learn from your kids. That's amazing. Okay, so we have here, guys, in the second paragraph that parents fear that they will lose influence with their children when peer pressure becomes too highly valued. So this is friends versus parents, right? It is the influence between the friends of your kids and you as a parent. So the problem with this, most of the time, I heard that kids are more comfortable with their friends rather than their parents because they can say many things to their friends. Are you afraid or are you scared that your kids will be like this in the future? Especially when they will be teenagers, because right now they're kids. They usually rely to you as a parent. But what if one day they will be teenagers and they will have this peer pressure? Of course, they will be highly influenced by their peers or their friends because they are always with them. Are you afraid that they will be more dependent with their friends than to you guys as parents? Anna, you only have one.
Yes, Mina, because I heard that the teenager period is the most difficult time with a kid that parents um, teach them. It's not easy to teach them in the teenager period. So um, I want to uh, I want to be a friend with him uh, from now. Um, I always scare um, my son just talk everything with his friend and live far from his with um, with my husband and I.
I understand that it's very important nowadays to really build a deep connection with your kids. Like if you treat them as friends, that they can comfortably talk to you. Because if not, they will not tell you everything, and that's where problem will happen if kids cannot, or some kids are afraid or scared to tell their parents about their activities at school. I actually heard some parents, Anna, like when they always tell their kids, if you want to drink alcohol, you can drink with me, but inside our house. So they drink together inside the house. They don't like disallow their kids to drink or to go to bars. But if they do it, they will do it with their parents. They will do it together. Do you think it's a good idea? Like drinking alcohol together with the parents or going to bars together with the parents?
uh, I don't want my kid go to the bar.
Really? You experience? Yeah, because kids are or people are very curious, right? So you don't want him to be exposed in this kind of thing. Okay, Cam, how about you, Cam? Do you have some fears
Uh,
about your kids?
yes, I'm really scared about the future when my kids uh, become teenager. I believe that at that time everything not peaceful as my generation when I was a teenager, because nowadays we have many many new things, and especially the technology always to live change a lot. And at that time, I I think I become older, and really hard for me use the new app or using technology. But my kids using day by day, and how I can control them and how I can know the tactics of using technology of my kids. And because the technology environment really hard for they can find the good people and the bad people, so I really care about that, and try to think and try to more closer with them, for I can listen from their thinking. I think that is the best way for I can try to keep me and my kids closer in the future.
Yes. And kids nowadays are more dependent on technology or gadgets. How about your son, Anna? Is he dependent or does he always use technology or gadgets at home?
Independent, uh,
Dependent.
dependent technology
Yeah.
in in what area?
Like smartphone, tablets, or television, does he always use it?
I think they are always attract to kid, not only kid but also the parent. In my case, um, my son always have to finish his homework and play, spend the time to play with his friend. When I see him finish them already, I always uh, let him to play with TV or smartphone from 15 or 30 minutes.
Oh, that's good. You have a rule. Okay, so I think it's better, yes, and maybe it's kind of a reward to kids because kids nowadays spend most of their time like holding gadgets like tablets and relying or being dependent on technology. How about your kids, Cam? Do you have like a rule? Like how many hours they can use gadgets or tablets in one day? Turn on your mic, Cam.
In fact, in my house, we don't have any rules for how many time they can using the smartphone or watching TV. But actually, all the time we don't using TV or smartphone for our kids. But I really care about problem, because when they become teenager, they have to stay outside many times than inside their home. So, and we also are really busy for our job. So how we can control them, or how we can know uh, our our kids want to do anything when they staying around outside. and really hard for I can know, and especially when they become a teenager, that's a rebellion step, and I know that this is the most important step with their life.
Mm. Stage.
They,
Yes, I guess that's true. Special teenagers nowadays, even inside the classroom, teenagers use their phones and do not listen to their teachers. So, yeah, it's quite a challenge actually to how are you going to monitor your kids' activities. It's quite a challenge, guys. So, I challenge you to find the way because I cannot give you the way. I cannot tell you what to do. So it's a challenge for you. So going back to you guys as a teenager before. Let's talk about your teenage years because it is, yeah, the rebellion stage, right? Where we always want to do the things that we want. Is there something that you did before and your parents do not approve of it, but you continue to do it when you were a teenager? Do you understand the question?
can you repeat?
Is there something that you did when you were a teenager, but your parents do not approve about it? Or you rebel, you rebel against your parents?
I think in my generation we don't have any opportunity for to make difference with my parents. But I think I have a decision for myself when I want to choose the university I want to learn. When my parents really want uh, me and my younger sister to follow some education school,
Mm,
like become a teacher or become a soldier.
mm,
So, but at that time, I don't like that, and I just want to learn and joining the university as I want. And I think that is the biggest decision in my life when I want to face with my parents,
mm.
and everything that's really normal and not different. I think that.
Choosing a career.
Mm.
Okay. Yes, I understand that because some parents really want us to be like this, to be like that, but then when we don't want it, yeah, it's a big thing. In my case, I don't have a problem when choosing my career, but about the religion, because you know the Philippines is 80% Catholic. So many people are Catholic, and also my grandparents and my parents, they're also Catholic. So they always bring us to church when we were young until we were already in university. And I also studied in a university which is a Catholic, but I don't know. I'm not an evil or I would not say that I'm a very bad person, but I'm not very religious. So my grandparents told me that I'm a rebel because I don't do the things that they do in their religion. So that's the reason why I always don't like to go to my grandparents' house because they don't always see me like doing this like that during church. So they will say that, what are you? Are you a Catholic or what? Like they are questioning you as a person because you don't follow the religion. So maybe that's a generation gap between me and my grandparents before about religion. How about you, Anna?
Yeah, in my case, I have a younger sister, and
Mm.
she always want to try new thing. Um, in my in my um, teenager period, is that time my younger sister teenager period. One day she come back home and um, have a new hair. um, she make her hair straight.
Mm.
Yeah. Uh, in I remember at that time it's so strange with us. And my mother so surprised. Um, my mother talked to my younger sister that, "Oh, what do you do with your hair? I I I don't want to. Um, I don't want. I don't like your new hair." Yeah. My parents um, always concentrate about my younger sister and I uh, about the appearance.
Appearance. Oh,
Uh,
that's also one thing I cannot understand. Like people before, they want you to have a long hair. They don't want women to cut their hair short.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and especially if you color your hair, old people will think that you are like somewhat a bad person, like that. So I also remember, guys, because I grew up with my grandparents, their discipline is very strict. Really, really strict. So sometimes they will put you um in a room and you cannot get out for one day, or they will put you in a sack. You know what's a sack? Sack
Yeah,
is, it's where you put the rice, maybe 50 kilos of rice, and kids can fit inside that sack. So our grandparents, if we make a mistake, they put us inside a sack because they were influenced by Spaniards before, and Spaniards have a very strict discipline. So before I experienced that my grandparents put salt, put salt on the floor, and we kneel down. We kneel down to that salt because we didn't do our homework. So they're very strict to us. How about in your generation? Um, did your parents discipline you in a very like strict way, or let's say your grandparents are strict to you?
um,
Anyone?
in
Can
my
you
case,
still remember? Okay,
the
Anna.
most strict method that my parents uh, teach me is that they hit me,
Mm, eating.
but not not usually. It just
Mm,
happen rarely.
okay. So you're, maybe you're a good kid. So lucky. You're so lucky, Anna. Okay, how about Sam?
Um, I think when I was a child and really little, um, I pretty often have to be hit by my father. And when I become older, I think in high school or at that time, my parents never hit me. again, and everything I have to control myself. And sometimes my parents just call me and remind me about some mistake, and I think pretty normal and not special in my childhood. I think so.
Mm, okay. So maybe it would be a good experience if you experience different kinds of discipline, not only hitting. Yes, okay. So I think you already understand now, or you already have a um, clear image of what is generation gap, right? So let's have the question in number one. What does generation gap mean? Not depend on the meaning of the book because they give a definition. So in your opinion, what's the definition or what's the meaning of generation gap? Anna? Anna, turn on your mic.
Yeah. In my opinion, I think generation gap is the uh, different about the lifestyle and thinking between father and children.
Okay. The difference between the lifestyle. Okay. The difference between the lifestyle of the previous generation to the next generation. Do you know how to count the generation? Like who's the first generation, the second generation, and the third generation
Yeah, the first generation is
in your
grand
family?
the grandparent, and the second is the parent.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So let's go to number two, Cam. When was the term created? The term generation gap. When was it created?
Um, I'm not sure about that.
It's in the essay.
Maybe it start from 19 and 60.
Yes. Okay, exactly. It is coined in 1960. Mm. Oh, it's been a long time ago, 60s, during the 60s. So let's have number three, Anna. Why is it important to narrow the gap or to make the gap smaller?
I think because in a society always exists at least two generations, and uh, both of them contribute to the social development.
Mm,
So we need to narrow the gap for both parents and their children.
mm. Okay, so according to our book, there are some advantages that we can get from the first generation, and also the previous generation can get some advantages from us, from the next generation. So, what do you think are the advantages of the previous generation? It's not in the book anymore. What do you think are the advantages of maybe as what Kang said, like maybe the advantage of today's generation is that we have a lot of opportunities to choose from, while the generation before they cannot choose from many things. I think that's one of the advantages. So what are other advantages that you can think of from the previous generation, or yeah, the generation of before and the generation of today?
In my case, I think for with my parents, they have because they don't have anything for they can choosing, and everything with them thus is a difficult situation. The poor they have to concern about the food, so mm, that also is disadvantage for them. But other side, I believe that also the uh, advantage for they can find the meaningful in their life, because everything's so easy for me when they just focus on the hard working and try to earn much money and try to warranty about the food for their family. In my generation, I have a many opportunity, but I still affected by my parent generation. So the meaningful for me in life maybe is a, a beautiful house and
Mm.
earn much money. But the my kids generation, I believe, I think really hard for my for our kids for to find out the meaningful in life,
Mm.
because they was born in almost the rich house. They never feel to they never know about how they can to earn money, how they can uh, un, uh to like food and everything for them always already every time.
Mm.
So
Yes,
I
exactly.
don't, and I'm not sure about how they can to find out the meaningful for they can try, and that's a problem with my kids, and
Mm.
I'm very concerned about that when I'm not sure about mm, they can find what they want to do and what they want to become, because everything already and they never hard working before.
Yes. Yes, I guess that's really true, Cam. I believe in that 100%. Because kids, like in your generation, you already set everything, like you already work hard because you saw from your parents that they maybe live in a difficult times. And that is why, because of that situation, you were able to maybe um, have your dream or find something like having a good house or a big house and a good work to support your family. But then for kids nowadays, everything is ready, right? So maybe the parents just want them to go to school. Yeah, I have this student of mine, and I think she didn't fail in the test. She didn't fail in the test. She passed the test, but then her grades is lower than most of his classmates. So yesterday she left the grades in on my table. And I told her, "Why did you leave this? You have to bring this." And she told me she doesn't want her parents to see it because her parents give her a lot of money, and maybe her parents will be disappointed with her if the parents saw it. And I told her, I think it's okay because you did not fail. You pass. So, yeah, even if I told her that, she still didn't bring the grades with her. So, I think that's one thing. Like kids nowadays, maybe they don't know the struggle, right? They don't know the struggle of how is it to really work yourself so that you can get or so that they can have the things that they are having right now. Yeah. So yeah, that's right, Cam. How about you, Anna? What do you think are the advantages and disadvantages?
Yeah, I think with the parents, they already have a lot of experience, and with the kid, they can apply many new technology we cannot say um, what is better than the other. But if we can connect the experience and the new technology, we can uh, find a good solution. I think that.
Okay. So although there is a lot of problems, you can still find ways. We find ways. Okay, as a parent, I guess you have to really do that, guys. Always find a way, Cam, because you're scared about it. Just find a way, guys. You can do it. Okay, so let's go to the first question here. Why is it hard to understand the other generation? Or is it difficult to understand other generations?
Mm. In my case, I think the reasons to make me hard understand is the different about situation, and the others is the different of demand.
Okay, the difference of demand from each generation. Okay, how about you, Anna?
Yeah, I think because my parents and I have a big gap about age, and they live in a different uh, state life with me. So um, I can understand uh, my parents' life in the past, and my parents uh, don't want to get along with me in now. So I think it's hard to understand together.
You mean your parents doesn't want to get along with you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's hard. So, actually, guys, there is one thing that I want to do. Like I realize that I can always go to different countries, but I cannot always get along with my grandparents. So I wanted to go home and I want to spend a lot of time with my grandparents while they are still alive. So that's one thing that I realized, and I wanted to talk to them and maybe hear about their stories, because the things that I'm thinking right now I can do it because I'm still young. But my grandparents' life, I think they're old, and I realized that we need to spend more time with them to understand why are they like that, why are their generation like that. So yeah, maybe spending time with those people will make us understand about their generation. So what there's one thing I know because I've read a poem, and I know that most of the grandparents before are hardworking. They usually work manually. In our generation, we work with the advantage of technology. But people before, they work in farms without the advantage of technology, without the tools. They work with their bare hands. So if you will go and see the hands of your grandparents or maybe your parents, you can see that their hands are very callous. You know what's callous? Callous hands, thick hands. Yes, it's often thick and hard because when they go to the farm, they don't have the tools or the advanced tools that we can use today in farming. Yes. So let's go to number two. For each generation, what is the first step in narrowing the gap? This talks about the solution. For example, for your parents, how can you narrow the gap?
I think in my case, I will try to put my mind in the same situation with other people, so I can understand about what they're thinking and what they want to do.
Mm. That's good, Cam. But there is this saying that if you didn't experience, like the experience is not direct or the experience is not firsthand, you will not understand it. Have you tried to plant? Just kidding. Have you tried farming?
Hmm.
Just a question,
Uh,
Cam.
yes. Sometimes because I really hate to play game on the computer. So maybe in the short future later, I have to try to learn about playing some game for playing with my kids.
Mm, yes. Sometimes you need to be kids like them in order for you to understand their feelings. All right. So, how about you, Anna? How would you narrow the gap between you and your parents first, then you and your kids?
With my parents, I think I should um, talk with them much.
Mm.
I should share um, about what I know with them, and with my kids, I think I should close with him more and more.
Get closer with
Yeah,
him.
get closer with him. I want him think consider me as a friend with him.
Okay. I hope you will be successful, guys, in being with a friend with your kids. How about you, Cam? Would you like to be friends with your kids?
Yes, I always like to good friends with my kids, and I also
Mm.
hope that.
I hope, guys, because one thing that's making kids scared is that when your parents, you look very strict and very authoritative and always saying you need to do this, do that. Like some parents, guys, are forcing their kids to study something they don't like, especially today. There are a lot of special subjects, and one of it is English. So kids are having difficulties actually because some parents force them to study English. Because of course, the parents believe that studying English can make their kids' life good in the future. So this is where they will have a conflict between the parents and the kid. But the parents will not know it because the kids will not tell their parents that they don't like to study English or other subjects such as math, science, like that. Okay, so let's have number three. In what areas of living is the generation gap widest? Anyone? Areas of living. Do you understand what's the question?
Areas of living.
Mm. So areas of living, it means countryside, city, urban.
Oh,
In the mountains, in the city, seaside, areas of living. Yes, where do you live?
I think that is the city.
The widest, you mean the widest
Mm.
generation gap?
Yes,
And why do you think so?
when I become the countryside, I also the closer between each generation because they live together in a big house, so they have many opportunity for connecting with other people. But when I come back to the city, I feel I saw many smaller house and with those two generation. So and that's why I think the most wisest either become belong the city.
Okay, the widest gap belongs to the city. And yeah, I guess so. Maybe apart from Anna's apartment, like I heard a lot of stories that if you live in a flats or in apartments, you really don't know your neighbors. And you don't know that they're living next to you as well. So it's maybe because the city is the center of economics and people are so busy. So how about you, Kam? Do you know your neighbors? Your neighbor's name?
Yes,
Who is the
that's
closest
when
neighbor
I
to you?
yeah, that's when I just come with new place. I always to try and spend all my free time for to meet other label and try to do more occasion for talking about with them, for understand about them, and try to closer with them.
Mm.
And sometimes my wife talk to me. I think you should to move with the label and stay here. Don't come back.
Maybe when you maybe Kam, your wife will message you later. Okay, Kam, your clothes are already outside. Please live with our neighbor and don't come home. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I in the Philippines also, my mother is very close with our neighbors. They always talk and maybe gossip. Okay, so how about you, Anna? What's your thought about this one? In what areas of living is the generation gap widest?
Yeah, I think the same with Cam. I think city is the area of living that is the generation gap widest because
Mm.
parents always busy with their job and they don't have a lot of time uh, to play with the kids. So the gap become bigger and bigger.
It's because of the lack of time.
The lack of time.
Mm. That's difficult when we talk about time because we thought that 24 hours is so long. But then, because parents are busy, it becomes very short. So, how many times do you think you spend time with your kids in one day? In your case, Anna, how many hours do you think you spend time with your son?
In my case, I just have about 4 hours per day for my kids,
Four
except
hours.
weekend.
Mm. 4 hours with the 24 hours. Okay. How about you, Cam? How many hours do you spend or play with your kids in one day?
Um, I think 2 hours or 4 hours a day.
Oh my God, you're worse than Anna, and Anna is working outside. 2 hours. Wow. Okay. So I hope, guys, that you can improve or yeah, give more time with your kids despite your busy schedules and busy life. Yes, spend more than 4 hours or spend more than 5 hours a day with your kids. So I've read, guys, and psychologists said that you need to schedule or really give time for one kid in a day. Like because the child will look forward for it. Like maybe you will tell the child, okay, in this hour we will play together in one day. So not just random, you know what I mean? Like, okay, if I have time, I will spend time with them or I will play with them. Like you will really have a schedule in playing or in spending time with them so that the child will have something in their mind. Oh, okay. So this time my father will play with me and this time my mother will play with me. They have something to look forward to in a day. So good luck. Good luck with the time. Let's have number 4. Do you feel a gap between the values of your parents and yourself? What about between you and your kids? Values.
I think in my case, I my most value is try to earn much money. But with our kids, I'm not sure about that when I think they try to enjoy everything they have.
How about with your parents? Come.
Of course, my parents is try to save with a lot of money they can.
So, do you feel there is a difference between the values of your parents and your values?
Yes, that is the most important values between me and my parents.
I think you've always mentioned before that your parents are very hardworking people.
Mm.
Hmm. Do you think they are more hardworking than you?
Uh, I'm not sure about that, but I think nowadays I working really hard, maybe than my parents, because
Really?
because in the day my parents also have working, but in the night they just sleep. While in the night I can't sleep when I have to think about many other situations, for I have to prepare for that. So I think maybe in the modern life, the people have to hard working than than their parents. And hard working not just you work by hand, by feet. Uh, this depend on how they can use the brain. I think so.
Mm. So it's physical and mental work.
Mm,
Yes, I got that. So I also have that experience. Like my mother will tell me that, oh, your work is easy because you stay in an office with air condition and as a big television. But I always tell her, no, you don't know that, mom, because your work before is also different with my work because my mother is a chef before, so maybe she works in a hot area always with fire like that, and it's difficult if you use your brain. So yeah, it's really different, guys, when you work physically and mentally. There is a difference between that. So I guess the parents before are so working, and I think that's the reason why they need to sleep early, Cam, is that they
mm,
have to rest
yes.
and refuel their strength so that they can work the next day. Yes, so that's why we really need to understand each generation. Okay, how about you, Anna?
In my case, when I live with my parents in the past, I always feel a gap between my parents and I. But when I live far from them, uh, I think the gap is smaller because uh, they always um, take care of me more than before,
Mm,
especially when I have kids. Um, my parents love him so much, and all the time they always talk about the kid.
Okay. So how about the values? So are you talking about the values of taking care of someone?
Yeah, the value is taking care of the kid.
So what's the gap between that? You think that your parents take care of kids more than your generation. Is that the gap that you're talking about, or you don't feel that there is a gap between your parents and yourself when it comes to taking care of kids?
Mm, I said that there is no gap about taking care of the kids.
Okay, that's good. If there is no gap between taking care of the kids from your parents' generation and to you. So let's have the last question. What is the best way to eliminate the generation gap?
Sorry.
Is there a way to eliminate the generation gap?
I think the best way is the people to connect with other people more time.
Just connecting.
Mm.
But the signal is very sometimes the internet connection is very low, so you cannot connect with other people. Just kidding. Yeah, I think spending time with them is the best way to connect and to understand them. But I think that's the thing that we lack the most. We don't have the time to spend with them because of our busy schedule. How about you, Anna? Do you have any other ideas aside from connecting with them? What's the best way to eliminate the generation gap?
Often we have to talk out uh, what we think, uh, what about my idea and my parents' idea.
Okay, connection, communication, and being honest with each other to narrow the gap. Okay, I think those are good ideas, but the most difficult thing is when and how to do it. That's the question. We can always have ideas, guys, because I believe that all people are smart and intelligent. We can always have that, but the problem is when and how we're going to do that. And that's the challenge for all of us. So let's have the opinion samples. Let's have number one. Listen more than you talk. Okay. So who wants to say something about this opinion sample? Cam. Do
I
you,
try to read and I try to understand. I think the key for the first paragraph is try to listen about other people and try to pose many questions for they can show their thinking for I can understand and I want to closer with them. I think so.
mm, are you the kind of father, Cam, who always like lecture your kids or talk to your kids more, like always scold them? You should not do that. You should not do this. This is the right thing to do. Why did you do that? Blah blah blah. Are you like that?
No, I think I just focus on what they're thinking and what they want to do.
Mm. So you agree with the opinion sample one?
Yes.
So Cam is a gentle father, Anna. Okay, that's great. Wow. Yes, because most of the time parents always scold their kids. You know what's scold? Scold or reprimand.
Mm.
Mm.
I think
Parents.
I think it's easy to read, but it's hard to do because when we have a conflict, we always want to talk than listen.
Oh, yes, I think so. And people, I think they don't really listen. They just wait for their turn to talk. They keep quiet so that they can talk later on. So I think most people nowadays really need to learn the arts or the skill of deep listening or golden. This is an idiomatic expression like you are a golden listener. Because listening, guys, is a skill. Even with IELTS, my lowest score in IELTS is listening. Do you think you have you have the skill to listen to other people? Cam.
Uh, Sometimes I think I'm not good when when other people talking to me, and I always interrupt by other things like smartphone or something like that. But I think that is not good for me, and I want to try change my behavior.
Mm, yes, good luck. Because it's really difficult. Like I'm experiencing this, guys, maybe with my friends. I actually just always listen. I'm actually the listener in our group. I'm the joker, but I'm the listener. But in the class I want to develop the habit of always listening. And just I want to talk 30% only and 70% from my student. But I'm trying to also learn that, especially when the students cannot talk. So the teacher will really talk. Okay, Anna, how about you, Anna? Do you think you have the skill or are you a golden listener?
Mm. I think if the issue is not mine, I can listen easily. But if it's mine, uh, I can't. So after I learn this lesson, I think I should change, and I always remember that listen in every situation.
Mm, because I think if we know something about the issue, we are very excited to talk about it. Like one thing when your friend will tell you about his problem or her problem, and then you will say, "Me too, me too." So you don't actually listen to your friend in that way. So let's go to number two, Anna.
Yeah,
Crazy and double standards.
when I read this statement, especially mm, the sentence "do as I say and not
Mm,
as I do,"
yeah.
it reminds with my kid's situation.
Mm,
Because um, my husband and I always um, ask him to talk about the time when he played with his friends. But one day, my husband go out to drink with his friends, and they say my kid that um, after 15 minutes he come back home, but 15 minutes passed, he still drink with his friend, and
Mm.
my son uh, called him by the phone.
Mm.
They
Oh,
yeah, he, my son remind him that time out. He need to come home.
time out. It's like a game.
Yeah,
Yes. It's really like that, guys, for kids. We have to be careful for kids. If we promise something to them, even if it's very small thing, like in the class, if you tell your class, okay, do this activity, and if you can do this, I will give you a candy. It's only a candy. But if you are going to promise that to a child, you must do it,
yeah,
because the child always remembers it. They will ask you, teacher, where's my candy? Or, yeah, father, why did you say that you will do this but you did not? And guys, they will develop that habit if they see that in the house, or if they see that inside a classroom, that this, my teacher, my parents do not do as what they say, maybe I can also do that. So they will develop the value, the attitude of not doing as what they say. They will become a promise breaker. Oh, because promise are always made to be broken. Promise breaker. Yes. So we should not promise our kids something if we cannot do it. Like my mom, and when I call them, oh, my brother already have a new toy. And I said, "Oh, you buy again? Don't do that." And then my mother said, "Because I promised him to buy him a toy if he will not come with me to the market." So that's the reason why my mother was forced to buy a new toy. So that's a very important lesson to learn, that we should not promise anything to our kids, especially if we cannot do it. Wherever adults should learn it. If even if you're a teacher, you are a parent, you are a big sister or a big brother. Yes. Okay. How about you, Cam? Do you promise to your kids a lot of times and then you don't do it?
Yes, pretty often
Oh.
when I want to talk about something, and when I promise with them to take them go out for the fast food or the market, but I uh, sometimes I forgot, and they remind me a lot when I have to take them go out.
And kids' emotions are very fragile. You know what's fragile? You know what's fragile? It's like a glass. If it will drop, it will break. So kids are very fragile. Their emotions are very soft. They're very soft-hearted. So you have to be careful in promising. But that's very funny, Anna, when your son called your husband. So what's your husband's reaction, Anna?
he say sorry, and he
Mm,
promised 15 minutes other.
50 minutes more? Oh my God, it's like extension of the use of internet. Yes, I think we should really honor. When you say honor, you will do it. Honor what we promise, so that our kids in the future will not be people who always break what they say. It's like what I told you before, guys. When you are a smoker, and then you told your son, don't smoke because it's bad for your health, but your son always sees you smoking. So how can your son don't do it when he sees you as a model, not model as an actor, but a model with values, right? Let's have the expression. Number one, a teenage girl usually makes up her face easier than her mind. So makes up here, guys, have two definition. Makes up like putting makeup, and the other makeup is to make a decision. Like make up your mind or decide. And the other makeup is to put cosmetics on your face. So, Anna, is it true?
Yeah, I think it's true. Because nowadays I see so many teenager girls can make up to go to school.
Yeah. Mm, mm. I can still.
And
Please continue.
they yeah, they I think they much prefer focus on the appearance than build the knowledge.
Mm. Then making their mind beautiful. Oh, that's very deep. They want to make their face more beautiful than their mind. Mm. I don't know in your generation, Anna, but I can still remember when I was elementary and high school. I don't use any lipstick or what, but in university, I just use lipstick and powder. But right now, kids, there are still kids. But I'm very shocked. Oh my God, they are putting lipstick. So I always crack a joke to my students. Oh wow, where are we going today? Why your lips is so red today? It's like that. Yes, it's actually true that teenagers and kids today use cosmetics earlier. So let's have number two. Cam, about the only time teenagers go homesick these days is when they are at home. Homesick. Are you homesick now, Cam, because you're in Hanoi?
Mm, yes,
Wow. Why did you go there? Homesick already. You think this is true? When you're home, but you're homesick. Oh my God.
I'm not sure. If I were a teenager and I rarely to feel homesick about my house.
This is like a paradox. How can you be homesick when you are at home? It means that you don't consider your house as your home. What do you think is the reason?
I don't know. Maybe I just feel homesick when I have a small family. So that means when I earn my family and when I go out in a long time, I feel really homesick.
Mm.
But when I was a teenager, I never feel homesick.
Oh, that's great. Amazing. Um, I think it's because of the new inventions of today. Like, we don't know what's homesick before, don't we? We don't know what is homesick. So we can never feel or we cannot never know that. But today we already created a lot of words, jet lag, homesick. So that's why even if teenagers are at home, they always like wanted to travel because there is a new term right now, guys. I don't know. Um, they say they say home is where the heart is. Do you understand this one? They say home is where the heart is. But and then there's a question posed after that. But am I homeless? Yes, but am I homeless because I wanted to be free. Mm, yes, because most teenagers always wants to travel. They want to feel the freedom. So that's what the reason they feel homesick, even though they are at home. Do you understand, Cam?
No.
Just read that. They said home is where the heart is. So if we have a house, we have a home, we always wanted to stay in that house. But teenagers nowadays wants to be free. They always wants to go out and travel because they have travel goals, right? So that's the reason why they are always homesick in their own home. Got it? Okay, do you have any questions, guys, about generation gap?
No.
No.
Okay, so if you don't have any questions, that's it for today. And I hope that you can have time and you can build connection with your other generations. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.